This is Kevin Moore from Timba.com, back again with an introduction to Beyond Salsa Piano Volume 4, Post-Revolution Cuban Piano Tumbaos, 1979 to 1989. This video assumes that you've already seen the much longer introduction to Beyond Salsa Piano Volume 1, which includes an overview of the series and answers to all the standard questions about notation, audio files, buying the book versus buying the ebook, and so on. After 2 decades of separation, the New York and Havana music scenes began to interact again in the late 1970s. Típica 73, Roberto Roena and Ray Barreto recorded post-revolution Cuban songs. The Carter administration thaw resulted in small steps towards cultural exchange and slightly less draconian travel restrictions. Iraquere won a Grammy in 1979, Típica 73 and the Fania All-Stars played concerts in Havana, and Oscar de Leon undertook his now legendary tour of the island. Modern salsa, such as Siembra by Ruben Blades and Willie Colon, was played on Cuban radio and became extremely popular there, and there was also a surge in interest in merengue from the Dominican Republic. Renewed interest in son set the stage for the modernized conjuntos of Chapter 1. Sierra Maestra recorded the songs of Arsenio Rodriguez. Adalberto Álvarez y su son stretched the conjunto format to include trombone, timbales, and drum set elements in the person of Calixto Oviedo, subject of Beyond Salsa Percussion. The first conjunto covered in Chapter 1, Rumbavana, retained the traditional conjunto instrumentation, but maintained their relevance in the new decade on the strength of the torrid grooves produced by pianist Joseito González and bassist Silvio Vergara, who, like Melon Lewis and Alain Perez, formed one of the great piano-bass tandems in Cuban music history. That was Joseito González's blazing tumbao for the ubiquitous La Pie. Here's another great example of his style. We study Vergara's style in Volume 3 of Beyond Salsa Bass. Adalberto Álvarez played a key role in bringing together the disparate threads of traditional Cuban music, modern salsa, and the modern Cuban trends of the 80s and 90s. He wrote many songs for Sonora Ponceña and other salsa bands, and was the leader and founder first of Son 14 and then of Adalberto Álvarez y su Son, a group that's still going strong today. Another great 1980s conjunto from the underappreciated eastern or Oriente region of Cuba was Los Karachi. Not to be outdone by their conjunto counterparts, modernized charangas also flourished in the 80s, with Ritmo Oriental and Los Van Van still going strong, and Maravilla de Florida reinventing itself for the 3rd time under the leadership of Manolito Simonet, who would later lead Manolito y su Trabuco. Underappreciated outside of Cuba were several other great charangas, including Típica Juventud and Orquesta Aliamén. Aliamén's pianist Ernesto Ramos provides us with a perfect introduction to one of the most important concepts of the Beyond Salsa series, controlled improvisation. Think of it this way. At one extreme is the classical music approach. You're playing music from a printed page, note for note, playing your tumbaos with little or no variation, concentrating all of your effort on your sound and groove. At the other extreme, let's call this the jazz approach, you're taking chances, leaving holes, and trying to invent an exciting new idea with each phrase. Controlled improvisation falls somewhere between. Instead of learning one version of a tumbao, you learn 4, or 8, or 12. By the time you get to variation 4, you inadvertently start to mix them up, following the first half of variation 3 with the second half of variation 2. This is the desired state. You're not playing a solo, but you're also not playing by rote. Instead, you have a limited vocabulary of gestures that work for each section of the tumbao, and you let them come out naturally, always keeping your primary attention not on the notes, but on your attacks, durations, dynamics, and groove. We'll return to controlled improvisation over and over in the later volumes of this series, the bass series, and the percussion series. For now, let's learn 4 variations based on Ernesto Ramos's classic recording with Aliamén. The legendary Revé group has managed to stay on the leading edge of Cuban music from 1956 to the present, so they pop up in nearly every volume of this series. The songs covered here are from the particularly strong mid-80s period featuring pianist Juan Carlos Alfonso before he left to form Danden. Looking ahead, Volume 5 of Beyond Salsa Piano introduces the 1990s genre of timba. It begins with a history and listening guide and then goes on to identify 10 key timba piano innovations and to demonstrate them in a series of 32 specially created study tumbaos.